The morning sunlight spilled through the cheap blinds, scattering across the living room floor where my birthday present sat waiting, or rather, where it was waiting for me in the most humiliating way imaginable. I had barely opened my eyes when I saw them, my sister's worn, grimy sneakers perched on the edge of the table like a trophy of my parents' cruelty. I rubbed my face in disbelief, trying to wake myself from what I hoped was a twisted dream. My mom, smirking as she sipped her morning coffee, chirped, "Here, honey, your gift this year. Clean them properly. That's all you need to do to celebrate your special day." My dad, seated heavily in his recliner, laughed from deep within his chest, adding, "Maybe now you'll finally understand what hard work looks like, other people's hard work." Of course, my hands trembled as I picked up the shoes. The stench hit me instantly, a mix of damp leather, dirt, and the faintly bitter scent of old socks. I could feel the laughter already creeping into my chest. My parents' cruel amusement, a weight pressing down, a reminder that they never considered me worthy of joy. Every birthday had been the same story, some subtle reminder that I was always the lesser one, the afterthought, the one meant to serve or fail quietly while my sister thrived in their eyes. The leather was stiff, the laces frayed and tangled. I ran water from the sink and began scrubbing, my knuckles turning white as I fought to make the shoes presentable. Each stroke of the brush felt like a physical punch to my dignity, a relentless reminder of their laughter echoing behind me. Hours passed in a blur of soapy water and sweat, my fingers raw and bleeding in small cuts from the rough leather. Each time I glanced at the wall clock, I felt a hollow pit in my stomach grow larger. My sister, lounging nearby with a smug grin, tossed comments over her shoulder. "Better make them shine, or Mom will be disappointed." I bit my tongue, forcing my pride into submission. But as I scrubbed, an idea began to form, quiet at first, flickering like a candle in the dark. If this was their definition of a gift, if this was their idea of celebration, then maybe I could turn it around. Maybe there was a way to show them that the person they treated like a servant, like a nobody, could wield control in ways they would never see coming. By late afternoon, the shoes were sparkling, almost unnaturally clean. I placed them back on the table, shining under the dying sunlight, each gleam a silent promise. My parents inspected them, faces twisted in smug satisfaction, believing they had broken me completely. My sister clapped her hands in mock praise. "Wow, you really did it. Guess you can follow orders after all," she sneered. But inside, I felt something stir, a plan, patient and slow, simmering in my mind. The humiliation, the anger, the long years of being belittled, it was all fuel. And birthdays, I realized with grim determination, could become the stage for far more than they imagined. By the time the sun dipped below the horizon, I had made my decision. This year, my birthday wouldn't just be endured, it would mark the beginning of their reckoning. And as I stepped out of the kitchen, hands still damp and raw, I could feel the first threads of control slipping into my fingers. They had handed me dirt. I would hand back chaos, perfectly calculated, wrapped in the guise of obedience. And it would start tomorrow. By the next morning, the house felt colder, emptier, as if the walls themselves had sensed the shift in me. My parents and sister were still basking in the afterglow of their perceived victory, believing that the obedient me was firmly under their thumb. I moved through the house silently, letting the routine of breakfast and casual conversation lull them into comfort. My dad sipped his coffee, leaning back with that smug grin of his, expecting the usual nods of submission. My mom fluttered around, whispering compliments at my sister for raising such a perfect girl, while I quietly cleaned the leftover crumbs from the table. Each movement deliberate, calm, precise, an actor in their theater of control. I had spent the night thinking, planning. I didn't need anger to fuel me. I needed patience, timing, and the element of surprise. Their arrogance, their careless laughter, was my weapon. The first step was subtle, small inconveniences, nothing traceable, but enough to make them question themselves. Dad's briefcase went missing, conveniently placed in the laundry basket. Mom's favorite vase tipped slightly from the shelf, cracked but not shattered, as if the house itself were rebelling. Each act was minor, invisible to anyone but me, building tension like an unspoken storm. My sister noticed first. her smug confidence faltering when her perfect arrangement of shoes tipped over mysteriously, the shiny leather scattering across the floor. She glared at me, suspicion prickling in her eyes, but I smiled, harmless, innocent, the obedient son she thought I was. Then came the plan that would truly shake them. I had spent weeks preparing, gathering evidence of every little injustice, every stolen opportunity, every cruel word they had thrown at me over the years. Their laughter, their mockery, every humiliating birthday, every belittling comment, it was all documented, recorded, stored quietly in the digital shadows. And now, the moment had arrived. I invited them to my birthday dinner, a simple gathering. Nothing elaborate, just enough to lure them into complacency. The evening unfolded like a carefully choreographed play. My parents arrived, smug as ever, expecting tears of gratitude. Perhaps even a quiet apology for underestimating me. My sister, pristine and smug, ranged herself at the head of the table. I served the first course silently, letting the tension simmer under the surface. Then, with deliberate calm, I pulled out my laptop, connecting it to the projector. A hush fell over the room. As images and videos began to flash across the screen, evidence of their favoritism, their cruelty, their endless mockery captured over the years. The room grew colder with each passing image, birthdays ruined, school achievements ignored, minor accidents ridiculed. I had cataloged it all, every detail undeniable, every memory sharp and cutting. Mom's face went pale, her hands trembling as she reached out to stop me. What is this?" she stammered. Dad's smug grin faltered, a flicker of fear breaking through the mask of control he had always worn. My sister's laughter died in her throat, replaced by shock and a hint of fear, as the projector displayed her cruelest moments alongside my own humiliation. And then I spoke, my voice calm, steady, slicing through the silence like a blade. "Every gift you've given me, every humiliation, every sneer, every moment you thought I was nothing, you built this. And now, it's time for you to understand what it feels like to be powerless." The twist came when the documents revealed a secret I had uncovered: a bank account, long ignored, that legally belonged to me. My parents had forgotten about it, thinking I would never find it. I calmly transferred their access, making them watch as their wealth shifted subtly under my control. Not enough to destroy them financially, but enough to make them gasp, to make them feel the control they had so arrogantly wielded slip from their fingers. They were forced to kneel, to beg, to understand for the first time the humiliation and fear they had inflicted upon me over decades. My sister, always the golden child, wept silently, realizing that her perfection could no longer shield her from the consequences of cruelty. By the end of the night, the roles had reversed completely. I had turned their birthday expectation, their hubris, into the stage for their own reckoning. They had tried to own me, to define me, to humiliate me, and now they were the ones trembling. As I looked at their faces, pale, eyes wide with disbelief, I felt a grim satisfaction. Not from malice, but from justice. I had endured, I had survived, and I had reclaimed the power they thought was theirs alone. And for the first time in my life, I knew that birthdays, like life, could mark not just suffering, but the precise moment when the tables turn.